Hi everyone, Quiveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at August, at the coming month of August. We will start on the first day of August, Lá Éile Lúnasa, as it's known in Ireland. Lúnasa is the month of August and the first day is the festival of August. Of course, we're finally getting out of summertime, so the sky is going to be reasonably dark at a much more reasonable time. We're here at just about 11, but the sky is pretty much entirely dark already, and this is just the 1st of August. We can see the moon is still a reasonably narrow crescent, so it won't be up for too much in the very early part of August, but as we move a little bit later into the month, we can see here in early August it is pretty much full. We'll move a few more days. 99.5% looks about as full as we're going to get, at 99.7 there on the 8th. So the moon is going to be pretty close to full there early in the month of August. Luckily, here we go, if we move forward to the 12th and 13th, the moon isn't in the sky when the sun goes down, and we can also see, oh well, still in the sky, but just barely rising there. Once we're through to the 12th and 13th of August, we can see that it is starting to get a little bit darker, a little bit earlier. We're here at 10:30 instead of 11 o'clock. We will very quickly bring up the meteor showers because of the Perseids. We'll have a look around. Here we go. Radiating from the constellation Perseus, so they're just there next to Cassiopeia. The Perseids are peaking on the 12th or 11th. Exactly what day they're going to peak on, whether we're seeing them in the morning of the 12th or later in the evening of the 12th, whether or not we should stay up until after midnight on the 12th or after midnight on the 11th. We can see they're peaking there on the 12th of August with a zenith hourly rate of up to 100. We're seeing a current zenith hourly rate of 97 and a local hourly rate of 21. Partly because of the light pollution, partly because of the moon. So if we go through a couple of days here, yeah, we can see it's definitely going down on either side. So this is the day of the 12th, moving into the 13th. But we can see they're actually going down there. So earlier on the 12th, as soon as the sun goes down, that's when they're going to be closer to their peak. We can follow them through to morning time and then go back a day. But no, they are still lower. So it looks like that date of the 12th is when they're going to be at their best. We will talk more about the Perseids in a future video. We will talk about them a little bit more once we're slightly further into August. But here we are on the 12th and the 13th. We can also see here in the morning Jupiter and Venus being very, very close together. So this is quite a close conjunction. We won't chase them around the world to see where the conjunction is at its absolute best, because of course they are reasonably separated here, Jupiter and Venus. So the chances of this being an occultation anywhere are pretty low, and we can see here as we move through the days, definitely on the 12th is when they're at their closest. Taking a closer look, we can already see some moons of Jupiter there with Venus still in the view. Of course, that would take a very wide field of view. It would be difficult to achieve with any telescopes. It's nice to see that from here in Ireland, all 4 moons should be visible, arranged around Jupiter like this. Occasionally, some of Jupiter's moons, as we can see here, they can pile up with each other or disappear behind the planet. There on the 11th might actually be better. We can see that Io is a little bit further out from Jupiter, which is going to make it easier to see on its own through a telescope. Whereas coming back here to the 12th, Io and Europa, they're much closer to Jupiter there. So we can see them moving around if you're willing to go out over the course of a couple of days. Taking a closer look at Venus, of course, all we're going to see is the thick atmosphere, but it does look pretty close to a half Venus, so it's not quite at its greatest elongation. We'd have to come back all the way to July to see Venus at its greatest elongation, but we can see there in August it's moving away from its greatest elongation. It's going away from the Earth and out behind the sun, but we're still seeing part of it in shadow, which will make it that little bit more interesting through a telescope. There is a little bit of Mercury just there. If we move later, we can see Mercury coming up a little bit better. Just here on the 21st and the 20th 20th, we can see Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, the Moon, and the two twins of Gemini here, Pollux and Castor. So we can see all of those together once we get through to the end of the month. We're also getting a reasonable view of Orion once we're through to the end of the month. And even here on the 20th, by 5 o'clock, the sky still isn't bright by 5 o'clock in the morning. We can also see Saturn just over there. And of course, Uranus is out by the Pleiades and Neptune is out by Saturn. So we're only missing Mars. We're seeing almost every planet that's visible to the naked eye, plus the two planets in our solar system that are not visible to the naked eye, all there in the morning sky. And we can see that Mercury's still visible there. We are looking at things from the city, still visible there up until about 5:30, and as we get later we'll see the Moon, Venus and Jupiter, just the three of them left there by a little after 6 o'clock. But they are still visible until a little after 6 o'clock. So once we're through till the end of August, we're really going to start seeing the days feeling shorter, even though the days will continue to be longer than the nights until we get through till September. We're still going to start noticing that the sunset is a little bit earlier and it will be truly dark. So we can see here again a little before 10:30. The sky is dark. There's a little bit of sunlight coming up over the north, but as we move through to midnight here, even by the we'll move forward to the 20th again, it is completely dark at midnight. There's no glow of the sun really coming over the north. We've left that portion of summertime once we're past the first day of August, once we're past Lunasa. We are looking at the sky as we would see it from here in the city, so we'll head out to the countryside to hopefully get a slightly better view. So here we are out in the countryside. We've still got that glow of the Milky Way, but if we come back a little bit closer to the middle of August, well, of course, the glow of the moon will block out portions of the Milky Way. So we can see the sky here. We're still seeing the summer triangle here as the sun goes down. In early August, we might still see it until the sun comes up in the morning, but we're definitely leaving summer once we come into August. So the summer triangle should be leaving the sky. As the sky darkens here, we can see the Milky Way coming up just there at about 11 o'clock, but we're already losing Antares once we come through to 11, so the core of the Milky Way is still going to set reasonably early. We do have the arms of the Milky Way out there. If we move later in the month, that will get the moon out of the way, but you can see that if we're going out at the same time, once we're through till here on the 30th of August, the core of the Milky Way is already starting to set, and if we come just a little bit earlier, we'll start to get that brightness back in the sky. Milky Way is still visible there at closer to 10 o'clock in the countryside, but with the moon and the light of the sun coming up there, it's gone by about 9:30, or we'll have to wait until after 9:30, closer to 10 o'clock, before it comes out. Saturn's nice and clear and visible essentially for the entire night, so that's going to make it even easier to point a telescope at it. It's going to be there for really the entire night, so you'll have plenty of time to line up your telescope, take a look. Of course, it's important to remember that you'll have to adjust the position of your telescope over the course of the night in order to keep following Saturn across the sky. We can see here by the very end of the month, even though Venus and Jupiter were quite close together on the 12th in a reasonably close conjunction, we can see there's quite a bit of distance here by the time we're through to the 31st, and of course that's partly due to how fast Venus moves around the sun. We can see Mercury there pretty well, but Mercury's heading back towards the sun. We can see around there, just around there is when it's turning, so around the 18th. It looks like the 18th is when Mercury will be at its closest to Venus before it starts moving away. Venus following it, of course, Venus going behind the sun, so they're both moving in a similar way. We can see here in the morning how much brighter it is earlier in the month at nearly 6 o'clock, whereas at the end of the month at about 6 o'clock the sky is, from the countryside at least, still dark enough to see some of the really prominent and famous things that are going to become more obvious once we get into winter. We've got Sirius there, the brightest star, we've got Orion, we've got the Hyades, we've got the Pleiades, we've got all of these things that are going to be more prominent in the early evening once we get into winter, but we're starting to see them here at sunrise, and of course all of those planets together as well. So I do want to say thank you for a commenter who suggested looking at a few of these dates. Here the 20th, this nice conjunction of Venus, Jupiter, the Moon, Pollux and Mercury in the sky with Saturn as well, and then coming back to the 12th we can see Jupiter and Venus there at their close conjunction as well. That commenter did also suggest suggest looking at the Pleiades, and we will look at the Pleiades. I will dedicate a video to the Pleiades, or more or less to the Pleiades, once we get a little bit later into the month, once it's closer to them happening. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like it. Also, if you have anything that you'd like to see in the sky, any suggestions for any events coming up, even if they're hundreds of years in the future, do let me know. I always like showing things that people want to see, and if you tell me that you want to see something, then I know for sure that it's worth making a video about it. If you enjoyed this video and if you enjoy this kind of content, then please subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can also check out my website, queevinscontent.ie, where you can see a lot of this information written down. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.